A time where every video game was fun. A time where no matter what you and your friends were doing, every single moment could be cherished and fondly remembered. A time where even your favorite video games held secrets that you could have never dreamed were hiding from you in plain sight. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my golden era in gaming. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, the Nintendo 64 was the only home console my family owned. Sure, we had a Game Boy and we had our old Windows 98 computer, but the N64 was our gaming machine of the house. This system served countless hours of entertainment to me and my siblings throughout our younger years, and obviously, it has its very own special place in my heart. Growing up, we had a ton of the classic N64 titles. Games like Super Mario 64, Star Fox, Mario Kart, Yoshi's Story, Dr. Mario, Ocarina of Time, you name it. We had a ton of them. For every iconic N64 game, we even had our share of lesser known but still golden titles such as Ready to Rumble Boxing, Turok 2 Seeds of Evil, and Mickey's Speedway USA. One of my close childhood friends even introduced me to games such as Donkey Kong 64, 1080 Snowboarding, and the beautiful Wave Race 64. These games, and many more, encapsulate my entire childhood. At least, the part of it that was spent in front of a CRT TV. And actually, this wasn't technically a very big part of my life growing up. See, as much of an impression as these games made on me as a child, my siblings and I weren't able to play them all that often. We were encouraged to get out into the world and make a real connection with reality before submitting ourselves to a world of fiction and video games. We were each allowed a single half hour of gameplay per day of the week and nothing more. These gaming sessions ended up being a really nice way for me and my 5 siblings to find a common ground despite anyone's age, gender, personality, or what have you. When it was time to game, there was a little something for everyone here. Not to mention my dad, and my mom to some extent, would boot up and play the N64 any day of the week they felt like playing, and they didn't care what we had to say about it. I have such legendary memories of my dad being a gamer and seeing the incredible things that he would accomplish. He had gotten 120 stars in Super Mario 64, beaten every mission in 007 GoldenEye on its hardest difficulty and unlocked all the cheat codes, and danced around every dinosaur enemy in Turok way better than me or my brothers were ever able to do. To this day, this is still a topic of conversation that we're able to bond over because it was such a unique point in time and gaming was at such a specifically good era with the N64 and its new to Nintendo 3D features. Aside from family memories and my pure, unadulterated nostalgia towards the system, I want to dive deeper into what made the games of this era so enjoyable. It's not that they functioned perfectly, because God knows that was not always the case. It's not the graphics that blew me away either, because this is my first gaming system ever and I was kind of born into this revolutionary 3D style of gameplay. No. What made the games of this era so enjoyable was the imagination. Part of this could be attributed to my age at the time, but even in saying that, my dad looks back at these games as fondly as I do, and he wasn't 6 years old when this was all going down. What I mean by imagination is actually how much of it you can see coming from the developers in the games that they would make during this time. From game to game, it was all new. From bleak shooter GoldenEye to fantastical Super Mario 64 to I don't know, Space Silicon Valley for crying out loud. None of these games were ever the same. This truly was a time where every new game you play would feel like something you had never done before. I mean, just look at Diddy Kong Racing next to Wave Race. Both of these games include racing through water, but they both play, control, and feel so much different than each other that I've never actually really made this comparison before now. This was truly a special time for gaming because every next cartridge you would put in your system had brand new surprises and secrets just waiting to be found by the player. Which secrets, you ask? Oh, I don't know. How about collecting every star to find Yoshi on top of the castle roof in Super Mario 64? Or the hidden title screen after getting every gold trophy in Mario Kart? Or the secret space world that you could drive to the lighthouse rocket ship after beating every boss and finishing every trophy race in first place for Diddy Kong Racing? Hell, I discovered just yesterday as of the writing of this script that GoldenEye has a long series of complicated inputs that you can perform to get your game to look like this. Did you know that this was in the game? Because I sure didn't. With every little unlockable secret you could find in games from this era, it added so much mystery to every game that you'd play. Even in games that you knew very well, there might just be something hiding beneath the surface that you never really noticed. And by the time that you do, It just feels like magic. These secrets and all the imagination and passion going into creating the games that housed them is unfortunately something games would lose sight of as the industry grew larger and larger. Of course there are some exceptions, but this statement is largely true, increasingly so to this day. Maybe as the age of the internet became more and more prevalent, developers felt like hiding secrets in their games wasn't worth their while, as people would almost certainly have it spoiled for them at some point instead of stumbling across it themselves. But even so, it's a shame to me. Games like what were released for the N64 will almost definitely remain unmatched to me for the rest of time. It just seems so far from what the gaming scene is today, and to recapture even a piece of what this older era felt like in today's day and age kinda seems like an impossibility. However, there is one sort of way to go about recapturing it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about speedrunning. As far as I can tell, the N64 houses more active speedrunning communities than any other console. We've got Super Mario 64, Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, 1080 Snowboarding, Wave Race, Banjo and Kazooie, F-Zero X, Paper Mario. Need I go on? With every turn I take in the speedrunning world, it seems like I cannot stop running into more and more N64 games with active communities that I had no idea about. I mean, even outside of speedrunning, there are people out there competing for the best ever score in different Mario Party minigames, or the highest scored picture of different Pokemon in Pokemon Snap. To this day, the N64 brings so much friendly competition to the table. It could be that I'm already such a big fan of speedrunning, but there's something about people still playing these games and discovering more and more about them that really brings me back to the days when it was all a mystery. I've actually begun doing my fair share of speedrunning in Wave Race 64 lately, and I'm improving quite a lot. As these games are quite old now, it's taking quite an effort to push your skills higher and higher up the ladder these communities have built up, but speedrunning has never been all about world records. I have just as much fun running against my own times as I do running closer and closer to a world record time. There are just so many games on this console that are fun to play, and that adds to the enjoyment of playing them as fast as you can, or for the highest score you can manage, especially when the communities are as active and supportive as they are. But what's your golden era in gaming? I've given my piece on this topic now, but I'd love to see which point in time gaming left the biggest mark on you. It's so fun to reminisce on the times of personal discovery in gaming, and I'm sure many people have had different experiences with games growing up than I did, so let me know down below. I'd love to read the comments on this video. If you liked the video, feel free to like the video, and please subscribe to my channel as I'm doing work here all the time. I have a huge statistic to overcome with my content, and if you could help me out just by clicking that button, it would be much appreciated. As for now though, I have more personal bests to chase down in Wave Race 64, so until next time, my name is Myloe, and I'm out.